funky class for the quads, the funky cold quads. So, if you have a yoga mat, super spectacular, you're definitely gonna need that. A blanket is helpful. We are gonna bring our knees down for a quad stretch at one point, and most all y'all are gonna wanna have your knee on a blanket or some softer surface for support. And you may want to have a chair, a coffee table, the edge of a couch, something. And notice I'm doing wall space today because we're going to use the wall in a little bit. So I will come into a stretch against the wall with my quad. I'll be down on the ground, and I might want to have support so I can stay down and have my hands on something. Gather your props. Click, click, pause. Gather your props. Click, click, play when you come back. Okay, so we're going to kind of go right into it. You're going to take, hopefully, a mat. But if you don't have a mat, again, you could use 2 blocks, or you could use a pretty firm blanket. You're going to roll said mat up. But I just unrolled on the ground, Mr. Joy Johnson. It's okay, I'll swear, you'll be fine, right? Go ahead and roll that mat up. And if you have a super thick mat, you might not go quite as wide, but you want to put that in between your legs, and you'd like it to hit between both the knees and the ankles, right? So we want to hit both of those joints. So find whatever works for you that allows you to do that. I'm approximately hip distance, but I'm actually a little closer in. But we want to be no wider than hip distance, but towards hip distance, whatever that is for you. So find something that spaces you out. And you're at home, click pause and go get it and come back, my gosh, right? And so from there, you're going to go ahead and you're going to take your fingertips to, actually I should show this way, the top of your patella, the very middle of your kneecap, your patella. And I want you to literally physically push into your body, pulling all the way up to the center of your hip joint, which is right about there. You now have an impression that has been left on your thigh. Awesome. From there, you're going to go ahead and you're going to start to push your outer ankles into your prop. You're going to push your outer knees into your prop so that everything moves into the midline, right? And hopefully what starts to happen is that we start to fire up this outer leg line from the outer ankle all the way up to the outer hips. Now bend your knees just a little bit. You don't have to bend them far. And where you drew that line, I want you to do that with your kneecaps. I want you to pull your kneecaps up, slowly straightening the legs all the way up the center of your quads to the middle of your hip sockets. And if you feel like you're hyperextending, hopefully that took care of it. But if it didn't, leave the knees just bend. Don't hyperextend. Don't lock your knee out. It's not worth it. Right? Terrible on the joints. As you move into, we got one more piece. This is kind of workshop-y, but we'll take this with us, right? Now you're going to imagine that I am on either side of your hips with my hands, right? And I am pushing your hips in to the center. So your ankles, your knees, and your hips are all moving into the center line. And I don't know if you felt it, but you might have just had a little bit of ignition, we'll call it a little fire start, somewhere through your abdominal area that helped the whole spine get taller and lengthen. And is this a lot of work? Yep, you betcha, right? But when we do our standing poses, when we do Tadasana, this is a really great thing to find so that you can find that center line that goes all the way up through the body. Now from there, put your hands on your hips. And with your hands on your hips, you're going to start to bend your knees, right? For me, I'm going to have to move my prop a little forward so it stays between my knees. Adjust if you need to. And just do a baby chair for now. Now, again, push into the ankles, the outer ankles push in, outer knees push in, outer hips push in. Find that support system so you're not diving into the low back. And then weight in the heels, try to sit a little lower. Now your arms might come out and up to do that. They might stay hands on hips or elbows back. Find the position that works for you. If your trapezius just took over, leave your arms down. It's not about your trapezius today, right? And lengthen. Now sit a little lower now that you've been there. Push in, ankles, knees, hips, in, and come all the way up. Hi quads, good morning. Okay, so now remove said mat. And if you want to roll the mat out, you can roll that mat out. I'm going to roll mine out this way. Let's just have it against the wall. That way we're at the wall for the next couple of things, and we'll be there when we do that quad stretch. So we're going to do all the muscular stuff first, and then we'll do the stretching stuff, yeah? So from there, you're going to come next to the wall. And if you don't have a wall, you could always sit on the edge of a chair, right? And work it from there, and I'll talk about that in a second. But if you can find a wall space, use it. It'll be the most beneficial for you, what you're trying to find. You're going to start to walk your feet out. This is why I like the sticky mat. My feet don't slide out from me, right? And if the sticky mat isn't helpful, you're on a carpet or something, move the sticky mat. I'm going to try, now that I have the support of the wall, I'm not saying it's pleasant, but I'm going to drop my buttocks to the height of my knees. I'm going to move into that imaginary mat. My ankles move in, my knees move in, my outer hips hug in. And then can you get a little longer through your spine? You just see I was forward, right? I got to come back so I have the full length of my spine. You might reach those arms out and up. Try to stay. If you need to come out and come back in, you do. I know it's killing me right now. Inhale and exhale. We're going to slide up the wall on the inhale and walk the feet back in. Pause. Breathe. So now I would like to look at, I didn't think about my camera angle for that. If you have that wall, we're going to use the wall space again. You can do this in the middle of the room if it's not going to work for you. We're going to do plank. You might not be able to see my upper body that much, but it's okay. The part that I'm interested in is really we're going to put our heels against the wall. So go ahead and let's start in a downward dog, right, with our heels against the wall. And have the heels up a few inches. Don't drop them down. Feel free to bend the knees. Now push into your hands, reach those buttocks bones back. We're just getting in there, right? So just try to find some of that length. And now you're going to go ahead and you're going to push your heels mightily, not only back, but also down. So back towards the wall and down towards the floor. The heels don't move down, right? They reach down, and suddenly, holy cow, the back of my legs have to work in a whole different way. Yeah? And breathe. Some of my friends, see if you can pick your toes up, spread your toes wide and set them back down. That might be your work. You might walk your heels down the wall just a little further. Bend the knees, lengthen the spine, pin the triceps, right? And then start to reach those heels back and simultaneously down. Knees can stay bent. Take an inhale, really work the heels in this version, holy moly. Woo, walk the hands back. And walk the feet so far forward that you're not going to fall off the wall, right? You can roll up the wall or right in front of it. Pause. You're almost there. We got two more big things. Plank. So when I watch plank, there are a number of things that happen, but one of the things is we don't really work our legs very much, and then it's so much to try to carry with our arms, right? So we're going to put our heels against the wall. If you can get the whole sole of the foot, do. My toes are curled under, but that might be too much. You might have your feet further forward, your toes, and your heels back, whatever you need, right? And your knees might come down for a second. Find those arms, shoulder blades down the back, right? Long spine. Now from there, push your heels into the wall so much that your thighs start to get buoyant. Push the heels back, thighs up, push the heels back. Pull your kneecaps up, don't jam your knees, right? Find that line from the middle of the kneecap. Hug your outer ankles, your outer knees, and your outer hips in. Hello, abdomen. Woo. You can bring the knees down. Take a child's pose for just a moment, assuming that's all right with your body. Okay. Virasana. Feel free to support with a blanket. The stretching part will now begin. If you know you have knees that are sensitive, this might be too much. You might stay higher with the knees. You might put a blanket or a washcloth or two directly, jam it into that crease as much as you can. I'm going to suggest you have a block or a couple of thick books that you try to sit back down on, right? What height is best for you? You could always lie on your back and hug your knees in. It's not going to be very intense. This usually comes into the quads as they run down. If you don't know, they cross under the knee and they connect to the top of the shin bone, which is what makes that knee, the shin move, right, or the knee be able to bend. So, part of the mechanism, that is super simplified. As you sit here, right, you're trying to see if you can't think of this length right here. So pulling the frontal hip points up. I could still say hug the outer ankles in, hug the knees in, hug the outer hips in. And I don't know if you can see it on me, right? But this is me not really attempting, like I'm still sitting in a pretty upright position. But I'm gonna start to hug my outer legs in, right? And it's not that suddenly I don't wanna take away my curve of my low back. But suddenly I get just this little bit of lift in my corset and I'm able to sit up just a little bit taller and breathe. That's my COVID-19 belly. And then from there, you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna release that. And come on forward. You've got that wall behind you, so you might need to move a little bit, but you might just rock the heel a little forward and a little bit back just to open up the back of the knee. All right. And other leg. Now comes the biggest stretch we will do today, and probably one of the hardest things. You're like, even harder than chair against the wall? I think, yeah, this is whew for me. Have something for underneath your knees, right against your wall. Again, this could be a couch potentially behind you, just something that's gonna block or support the leg. This is where you might have that chair or coffee table pulled in. Be inventive, you're home, you're at your house. You can pause and pull stuff in and start again, right? You might have 2 yoga blocks. Right? So, we're going to go ahead and we're going to reach the right leg back first. So I try to reach the right knee back and I slide the top of my foot on the wall. And then from there, this is the harder part, you're going to let that left leg. I like to come down a little lower for this. If I'm up too high, I find it really hard to come into the lunge. So you might come to the bottom rung of the chair or to yoga blocks and let that left foot step out. Right? I know. And then squeaky, 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 it moves over. You've probably done a lunge before where you reach back and grab your foot. The wall is doing the work for us. We can't cheat, yeah? Now, you might stay low on blocks or on the bottom rung. You might bring your hands up a little bit. It's not about getting your butt to the heel. It's about pulling your frontal hip points all the way up and trying to lengthen the spine as much as you can. And voila, right? Your right quad. Hopefully you're feeling it in the belly. But you might feel it a little higher up towards the psoas, you might feel a little lower towards the knee, but if it's right around the joint itself and it's pulling ligaments and tendons, don't do it. If this hurts the knee, don't do it. Do not do it, do not do it. Your variation, stay in it for my friends who are working it, would be to stand at the wall using a strap or your hand, and you would stretch from here, moving the knee down, frontal hip point up. My friends who are in it, you've got one more. Yeah, I am. I'm leaving you there for a while. Because in order for your body to get the effects of a stretch, it should be in it for at least 1 minute. This is some studies, right? And then maybe hands on thighs, wherever you are, maybe those arms reach up. And I don't just throw my arms and my shoulders back, I pull my frontal hip points, pull my frontal hip points, pull my frontal hip points, lengthening all the way out of my side waist. I could think of lengthening from my right knee through my fingers. Ooh, wee, hello. Come down. Again, I like bottom, I like coming lower. To get into this. I was ready to do a totally inappropriate joke. I actually like top. Go ahead and walk the left foot out wide, bring that down, and bring your right leg down. In yoga, come on people, reach the left knee back. And again, you're gonna find that placement. If it needs to come a little forward, it does. Or you can just stand and do the other variation, right? I like to be lower to try to whoop that right foot out to the right and then walk it over till it's centered. One block on either side or in front of the knee, the buttocks bone. Blocks, chair, sofa, coffee table, dogs, probably not a great idea. Children, not a great idea, right? Pull the frontal hip points up. Maybe you come up a little higher. Be there for a few minutes before, before you just try to whoop up and, yeah, look at me, I'm in it. The quad wants a second. It's a big, those 4 muscles are some of the biggest in the body, literally. Yeah? And then maybe, actually let's stay here for about 2 more breaths. I ain't on the other side for a while. And again, you might be standing with your left hand or a rope around the left ankle and just work the knee down and the frontal hip point out. Maybe those arms reach up, maybe they don't. When you reach up, think of reaching from the knee all the way through the frontal hip points, all the way up through the pinky fingers. Take 1 more breath. Whew. Bring that down. Again, to get out, I find the gentlest way is to walk the right foot out to the right. This is my body and most bodies I work with, but you know, you're in your body. Right shin down, left shin down. You might move those props off to the side and take a very quick child's pose. We'll be here for a couple of moments. We'll lay out for just a moment here as well, right? I'm going to come on a fist just so I can leave my head up so you can hear me a little bit better. And then push your body up. Let those legs extend out in front of you. Let's do a hamstring stretch just so we stretch the other side and these get to contract a little bit. Feel free if you want to use the wall. You could be against the wall. It's always a really good truth teller, right? If you're coming against the wall and it's just your middle part of your back that's touching the wall, it tells you something. You might sit up on a height, right? You want to get your sacrum, your low floating ribs, your shoulder blades-ish, not all of them, right? And the back of the skull as close to the wall as you can so you have that long spine as if you were lying down, say. Inhale, reach the arms up. And then exhale, we're going to start to fold out over those legs. Before I go too far, I bring my hands down. And then I use them to lengthen my spine even a little more. Buttocks, bones back, heels forward, and then start to fold in. Those of you who work with me regularly, you know one of my usual cues, because the majority of human bodies don't do this unless you ask them. Pinky toe pulls back. Huh, that's interesting. What would happen if I say push your outer ankles in, push your outer knees in, push your outer hips in? What does that do in this pose? Makes it a little more work, yeah, it's true. But hopefully there's a stabilization and you start to feel the middle of the hamstrings. Inhale, reaching the chest forward, coming on up. We're gonna come down onto our back. Now you can pull out away from the wall or you can just go forward enough that when you lay down, your head's not against it. And if you've never tried, you may or may not like it, but then once you try it, you know, right? You might sit pretty close to the wall. I have my knees a little bit bent, but not too much. My feet reach the wall. And then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start to roll down. Now I don't wanna be in full extension yet. I wanna have my heels down against the floor of the wall, my toes pointing up, and then I'm gonna start to, without wiggle worming, I'm gonna push my heels in. So just enough of a bend that when I push, it drags my buttocks flush to my heels, it retracts my shoulder blades towards my buttocks, and then I bring my arms out and I come into what would be a classical Shavasana, but there's support. Now it definitely feels like there's information, someone, the wall, telling me kind of what to do, right? It's not that full relaxation. But what I like about this variation is that for me, who is a duck and who goes into external rotation way wider than I should and more often than I should probably, don't should all over yourself, is that this starts to train my legs towards a more neutral position without me efforting. So still soften the feet and the toes and the ankles and the knees. If you feel like you're jamming your knees or they're in hyperextension, roll something up, put them under the knees. We're not going to be here for a long time, but soften, relax, and let your body, mind, and breath integrate everything you just did.
I'm still with you. Bring your awareness back to your breath. Any wiggles or jiggles or anything that helps you come back into your physical body, do that. No rush, but you'll bend the knees. Roll over to one side and push yourself up.
If that Virasana on the block felt okay, you might finish class that way, but you could always sit down, cross-legged, on a block, off a block, or you might just sit on the chair or the couch or the coffee table if you have that nearby from what you were doing, right? But again, if you can, and I'm not challenging the stretch of the quads right now, I have the block on a height where I can sustain this for just a little bit. This is how I meditate. When I sit cross-legged, my SI joint, my hips, some things get a little ticked off, my leg usually falls asleep. And this isn't for everybody, this isn't for most people actually. But when I am in this position, suddenly my pelvis can find that upright quality and I can sit tall. I sit a little taller and I often put a spacer behind my knees and then I can sustain this. I usually meditate either for a half hour or for an hour and I can usually be here, not saying it's like super comfortable, you still sit through some discomfort, that's part of the meditation process, but it's available. Close the eyes, sitting up nice and tall. Whatever position you chose is wonderful. You're not a better human if you can kneel. I don't even know that I'm a hero just because I sit in hero's pose. I dream. Bring the hands together at the heart. Take an inhale. Exhale, bowing the head in towards the hands, towards the heart. May they all work in conjunction with each other. Making our decisions from love and abundance instead of fear and scarcity, especially in uncertain times. I'm grateful for you. Namaste.